Contemporary math students, I have some great news. We are returning to the use of actual numbers here in our studies in math. Chapter 8 concerns personal finance, concepts that will be relative to your everyday practical life. I hope that you enjoy this chapter and that you gain some wisdom from these studies. We will examine concepts such as simple and compound interest savings accounts and loans. We'll learn about how to save for retirement or how to save for a college fund, and even how to calculate car payments and house payments. In Section 8.1, we're going to begin with some basics, some real foundational concepts: percent, sales tax, and discounts. Most of this will probably be familiar to you, but again, it's very important that we know all of these basic details. 8.1.1, we're just going to review some basics of percents. Definition: percentages express ratios as parts out of 100. Percent literally means to divide by 100. Per means divide. Cent is related to the word for 100. Rule: to convert a decimal to a percent, multiply by 100 or move the decimal 2 places to the right. To convert a percent to a decimal, divide by 100, or the shortcut is simply to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Let's try some very simple examples. Let's convert from decimal form to percent form. So if I have the decimal 0.231 and I want to convert this to a percent, I'm going to multiply by 100, which essentially means move the decimal 2 places to the right. So this would be 23.1%. Or the decimal 0.002. I'm going to use the same procedure and move the decimal 2 places to the right. Notice we end up with 0.2% or less than 1%. If I have something like 2.35 and I move the decimal 2 places to the right, we end up with 235%. Quick little note down here at the bottom of the screen: when expressing percentages, it is necessary to use the percent sign each time. And that's what we did on our first example there. Otherwise, we will assume that the number is in decimal form. Let's get back to our examples. Let's go the other way. We're going to go from a percent, as indicated by the percent sign, back to a decimal. So we need to divide by 100 or move the decimal 2 places to the left. Place value is very convenient, and it allows us to multiply or divide by a multiple of 10 simply by sliding that decimal. So 72.3% is 0.723. It's important that we can convert a percent to a decimal, because a lot of times when we're dealing with loans and savings accounts, the rate of interest will be quoted as a percent, but we need to convert it to a decimal for our calculations. Next example, 215%. Decimal lives right here originally. I'm going to move it 2 places to the left, which is essentially means I'm dividing by 100. No percent there, that's a decimal, 2.15. Let's look at 2 3/4%. In order to convert this to a decimal, first I need to convert 3/4 to a fraction. Now, if you have 3/4, you have 75 cents, right? So 2.75% is equivalent to 2 3/4%. Notice I have not converted it to a decimal yet, so I still have my percent sign. Now I can move the decimal 2 places to the left. I'm going to have an extra placeholder of 0 here, and we get 0.0275. Let's continue that practice and go from fraction to percent. Now, by the way, for this chapter, we're going to have a lot of finance formulas, and it will be important that you have a very good calculator that you can depend on for our calculations. I will be doing all the demonstrations on the TI-84 Plus calculator. If you have a Texas Instruments calculator, TI-83, TI-84, that should be sufficient. If you have questions about other calculators, you're free to email me, but really a TI is going to be the easiest calculator as far as being compatible with our videos. So let's talk about how to convert a fraction first to a decimal and then to a percent. The fraction bar is actually a division bar. So to convert 7/8 to a decimal, we divide 7 by 8, and the calculator tells us 0.875. So from fraction to decimal, we get 0.875. Now we can go to a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right, and we have 87.5%. Notice 9/5 is an improper fraction, so when I divide 9 by 5, I end up with 1.8. So something bigger than 1. So the decimal value is 1.8. I'm going to move that decimal 2 places to the right. We get 180%. Okay? So I'm assuming that you already knew this, but again, it's a great idea to review this and hash out these details before we look at our more complicated formulas.